Hi everyone, welcome to the show It's Lit, where we'll be discussing all things literature, and I'm your host Maha Khan. Today I have a very special guest with me. She's a really good friend of mine. We met in our academic English class.
Yeah, it was my second semester.
Yeah, it was my first.
Oh, wow.
So her name is Pia Farooq. So hi Pia, how are
Hello,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm really excited for this.
Me too. It's so much fun having a friend over.
Yeah, I know. It's like a normal conversation.
Yeah,
Like, between us.
And we already know each other.
So
I
it's
mean,
just
that's
better.
a bonus.
Yeah.
So introduce yourself.
So my name's Pia, as Maha just said, and I'm doing BS Economics and Finance, and I'm in my last year.
Oh, wow.
So yes,
I wish I was in my last year.
I mean we all do.
How's that going for you,
it's
economics
going-
and finance?
It's Economics and Finance are my two majors, and those are the two subjects that I'm extremely passionate about. So
Wait, really?
yeah, so it's not even like a headache for me. It's
Yeah.
actually something I'm actually enjoying a lot.
Because for most people, they think these subjects are really dry. I mean, me being one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it depends person to person. Like, I could
Yeah,
find
true.
some subjects of yours quite dry, or
Yeah, no, I get that.
I could find like certain subjects quite boring, but to other people, those subjects might just be really interesting.
Yeah.
So for me, finance and economics are quite fun.
No, that makes sense. Though.
Yeah.
It depends from person to person.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
depends on what your interests lie in.
Yeah, true. So tell me, how did you begin reading, and did you start it recently, or was it a hobby that you picked up along the way?
Reading for me has been something that was very common in my family. My dad reads, my aunt reads, my grandfather, my grandmother, they all used to read. So it was this common culture in my house. Plus, in my school, I went to Convent of Jesus and Mary. So there was a very prevalent culture there for reading. Everyone had to read. So it was something that became a necessity. So it turned in from at home it was a hobby, but at school it was a necessity. So it was like you had the best of both worlds. So reading was something, that's how it developed for me.
So you said that it was a necessity in your
Yes.
school. Didn't it make you more, not inclined to read as much when you got home?
Not really, because the thing is that for me especially is that reading at home was so common that it wasn't very tedious or very taxing. So I quite enjoyed reading.
No, but sometimes it happens, when you're forcing something so much, once it's a hobby, you're enjoying it, you're doing it for pleasure, you're doing it for your own self. But when it becomes a forceful thing, or it becomes a job or something that you're made to do,
Mm-hmm.
it can it can be taken away from that fact that it gives you pleasure, it gives you that relaxing feeling.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen with you?
See, now, okay, for me, that didn't happen, but for many people, that could happen. Like, I don't know, maybe in the if I put my shoes in someone else whose household doesn't have a very common, reading attitude or behavior. So I wouldn't say that they might have found it really hard, but for me, because reading for me was a very different experience. It was like I could picture what I'm reading in my head. So it was very, it was something that I really liked to do. So for me, it was different. I developed the habit of enjoying it, so I didn't really mind if we had to read or it was a necessity in my school.
Basically, it was best of both worlds.
Yeah,
you
like
said.
I just said,
Yeah.
some people had it good for them, some people didn't. So
You were getting the chance to read at home as well,
Yeah.
as well as in your school. So,
yeah.
I mean,
So
you
plus I just really like writing. So usse par I realized that reading is something I have to do.
So, you just mentioned writing.
Yeah.
So, did that come after you started reading and developed a habit for it, or was it something that was before?
Well,
Before your whole reading.
Like
history.
personality wise, I would say I'm really I lean more towards being creative. So writing is something where I can bring out my creativity, because I like to write, I could create my own scenarios, my own worlds, my own characters, and that is something that I used reading to improve my skills in writing, because it goes both ways. You have to
No, of
read to be
course.
able to
Huh.
write properly.
Yeah.
So that's why reading and writing went hand in hand for me.
Of course, when you're writing something, you have to read to understand and get different reading styles,
Yeah.
and how authors and people all over the world write and how their pattern is. And
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's how my interest started. It was all like, it was just hand in hand for
Oh.
everything.
Okay. So what do you write about?
So I have a blog. It's called Writers Affairs, Writers Cafe. Sorry. So over there, I have like different stories. I have my own like articles. I like writing research articles on small topics, especially social topics. And my stories also revolve around social issues. I have stories over transgenders and acid attack victims, victims of honor killings. So I write stories around those so that it's just more interesting for people to read and relate to.
And also
And
bring awareness.
Bring awareness. Plus, my this blog site is a forum where there are a lot of people from all parts of the world. So a lot of these problems shed light to, like, you know, a lot of people who aren't aware of these issues, especially from like other parts of the world, they start realizing that these are the issues happening in Pakistan, and you know, people there are talking about it. So yeah.
No, I've read 2 of your stories, balki 3 actually.
Okay.
Yeah, one was, I think, the one that you posted on IOBM's website.
Mm-hmm.
It was about you navigating the world of dancing at a
Yes.
mehendi.
It was called My Lehenga. It was published in
Yeah.
Dawn as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I read it on the CBM's website,
Yeah.
our official
Yeah,
website.
basically that was about me. Just a side thing. I write a lot of symbolism. Like I use, like I'll have one main theme of the top of the story, and then that will be something that's shedding light on a bigger topic, on a bigger picture. So for that story was called My Lehenga, where I'm talking about, like, you know, how I'm scared of dancing in front of so many people, and
Like with the whole
then like the
heavy
lehenga is
how
so
to,
heavy that I just
you know,
cannot
work
move
that.
properly, and I need
Yeah.
to, like, you know, I need to like find a way to maneuver it around properly, and I can't, but I'm scared like it might just fall off, or might just something just
Or you might
embarrassing
trip or
happen.
something.
Yeah, something like that. But and at the end of the night, I realized that you know, I don't care about the weight of the lehenga. I can just, like, you know, be free and do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that's like the main theme behind is that, like, you know, you can have obstacles in life, but
Yeah.
you need to learn how to deal with them and use them to your advantage.
Oh, nice. That has like a very deep
Yeah.
nuance to it.
Yeah.
No, I got that, but not like as clearly as you just explained it to me right now.
Yeah.
And also, I read the honor killing story that
Mhm.
you wrote about a father killing
Yeah.
his daughter,
Yeah.
just in the name of like honor, because
Yeah.
she fell in love with this guy.
Yeah. She.
And that
The
wasn't
thing is that
accepted.
my stories, they start out as something that, you know, like, you know, oh, where is this leading? And then finally in the end, I drop that bomb, like, you know, this is
Yeah.
what's happening. So then that's when it leaves a very lasting impact.
Yeah, I read that part where like he raised his hands up in the air, in
Yeah.
the air, and then I didn't know that what he was about to do. I thought he was just, you know, kind of like praying or asking for a
Yeah.
prayer or something, and then towards the end it says that his hands drop and like he plunges the knife into her heart, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my
Oh,
god,
God.
what?
This went dark.
Yeah, like this just changed instantly. And also another one of your stories I've read, the Unchained Mind.
Yeah, the Unchained Mind.
Yeah, that
So
was very beautiful.
that is something I wanted to write about, my personal, the way my mind works. So I would feel like I'm someone whose mind is not chained to certain thoughts. Like I want to be a free thinker. So that's what's based on.
So when you started reading, what were the books that you picked up first?
As a child, my favorites were Jacqueline Wilson, all her stories. I think I've read almost all of her books. She's a very famous child writer. She used to write a lot of novels, and the thing is that their cover pages were so cute that they instantly grasped my attention. Plus, the stories were amazing. I read a lot of Goosebumps. I wouldn't say Goosebumps is a book for, like, you know, people should read to improve their English. It's more for time pass. So, you know, when I read books that were fun to read, and then when I was reading books that are also serious, it didn't create this whole, like, you know, I have to just read serious books only. I was reading combinations of, like, you know, easy to read books and difficult books. So usse na, then I developed that interest. So the Goosebumps I used to read were like a time pass, like leisure reading. So it helped a lot in, like, you know, developing an interest.
So do you think like that stereotype is misplaced about people who read fiction more, or like pleasure reading, as we call it, more instead of like serious books. Like, is that, I mean, are those people not really fond of literature, or is that a misconception?
I feel like being someone who likes literature and you having to read the classics and all those famous books, right? I agree. You have, if you wanna, like, be someone who's considered to major in English or in literature or have an interest in literature, you should be reading the books that develop the whole road to, like, literature. But I also feel like, saying, oh, this person reads books that are, like, not even considered classics, he must not like reading, is very, very generalizing. I mean, some people just like to read just to have, like, a time pass, or, like, these books are just, like, and I feel like a lot of people just want to have it easy to, like, imagine those situations in their heads, and you can't really do that with classics a lot because of the tough English,
and also not with the non-fiction genre as well. Like, it's so serious, and you're reading something to, like, get something from out of it, and learn something. So that doesn't really make for a pleasurable reading experience.
I would say that it is. It just goes different for different people. Like, sometimes people just want to read something light. Sometimes people want to read something heavy. It depends on what people can digest. Like, a lot of people won't. They, like, for classics especially, like Shakespeare or Oscar Wilde and all these writers, you're supposed to have a very good grasp in your English language plus your literature, right? It's not, these are books that not everyone can just pick up and read.
And they're not really easy to read. I
No,
mean,
they have a
especially
lot
Shakespeare.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
there's
the
a lot
way
of learning.
that he wrote. I mean, we've read his poems and everything. The type of English that he uses, like the Thai instead of the. I mean, that's just a simple example.
Yeah, so a lot of people cannot read that. So just saying, if they want to be good at literature, they should just read those books. I mean, yes, good at literature means you should be reading those books, but good at literature also means these are, like, people need to develop that pathway also. So by starting with easier books, you can eventually get there.
Yeah, and plus it's so subjective.
Yeah, it is subjective.
To each person their own type of situation.
Like, I don't like Shakespeare that much, but I really like Oscar Wilde.
Oh, what? Do you remember any of his books?
He had this book called The Importance of Being Earnest. It was one of our it was a book for our grade 11. It was our course book for O levels. And even though it was a textbook, like school textbook, people don't enjoy that, but it was just such a good book. I loved it. Plus, there was this other story I read. I forgot the name. It was about a ghost.
Oh.
Yeah, there was one scary story from Oscar Wilde as well. It was about, I think, a circus clown.
Okay.
Or something like that. I forgot. I read it a long while back. It was a really good story.
Okay. So, what's your favorite genre?
I don't have a specific genre. I like different things. I mean, yeah, I used to love Harry Potter. I didn't read all the books. I used to read, like, I read most of them. But I really liked the whole, like, mystery and, like, the whole aspect. Gothic books. Wizards and
I'm completely,
all, like, that fiction. I kind of enjoyed that. And other than that, then, like, over time I realized that my interests kind of changed. So I don't have a specific genre. Like, pehle hota tha Harry Potter, then uske baad I started liking mystery and murder and all of that.
Have you read the Enid Blyton's famous 5 books?
I never liked Enid Blyton.
Not even the famous 5 ones?
I found them I didn't find them interesting.
Really? Like, that's my
childhood. I like her stories. I still like her stories, but I just didn't like them. I like there were, like, some aspect of adult aspects in it as well.
No,
so,
but I feel like famous 5 is for young people. I mean,
yeah,
I was in 5th grade.
I was saying, right, my taste changed over time. So
course,
at that age, I was liking Harry Potter and Jacqueline Wilson and Goosebumps. But when I grew up a little into, like, my late teens, then that's when I started enjoying mystery, murder. So I started reading, like, I forgot the name of it. I really don't pay attention to the author. I just grab a book.
It doesn't
So
matter.
it was called Dark Places.
I don't think I know.
Sharp Objects, Dark Places.
Yeah. Gillian Flynn?
I think. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gillian Flynn?
Yeah, that person. I think I think the author
there's
of
this other book of hers as well, and that's made into a movie.
Girl on the Train.
No, another one.
Gone Girl?
Gone Girl, yes.
There's so many of these. That's the thing, I've read so many of these that I don't remember their names at all.
No,
So
for me, like, I am completely opposite that. Like, fantastical genre is not for me.
really?
Yeah.
What do you like to read?
I'm mostly fiction, like comedy mixed with romance and like
Oh, that's
mystery
nice.
and thriller. Like, that's my favorite.
I
thing to
like
read.
those as well. There's this book called The Girl I Left Behind. It's by the author of that movie, Jojo Moyes.
Moyes,
Yeah.
yes. Jojo
So
Moyes.
that was a really good book. I loved that book. It's one of my favorite books, The Girl You Left Behind.
I haven't even read her like Me Before You, because like I saw the movie. I didn't even know that it was a book before like the movie came out.
Mhm.
And after I saw the movie, I was like, sometimes when you see the movie, it's like after that, what's the point in even reading
I
it?
had a phase where I enjoyed romance and stuff like that. I used to read a lot of John Green, and then I kind of grew out of it. I didn't want to read
never
romance.
enjoyed like John Green's books. Like people were obsessed with The Fault in Our Stars, and when I read it, I was like, this is mediocre. I mean, I'm in no place to pass
Yeah, it's different
comments
for different people.
or anything. I mean, of course, I'm not a professional in literature or anything of that sort, but still, like, I just didn't personally feel the whole hype around it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like those books, but yeah, like you kind of just grow out of it. You're sick and tired. It's the same story again and again.
It's so dragging. I find his books really dragging. Like, they go on and on and on and on, and there comes a point when it gets really repetitive and monotonous.
Yeah, I agree, but that's why I didn't bother reading Me Before You. I mean, it must be a very good book, but I just didn't like the whole romance genre. But I really liked The Girl You Left Behind because it had a lot of. It was about I think World War One, and this lady used to work in a hotel, and her city in France was taken over by the Nazi soldiers, and she falls in love with one of the soldiers, but then she finds a way to escape that place to go look for her husband who had been drafted. And then they kind of change the timeline, and they move into the modern world where a painting of hers is like in her.
I remember we talked
I told you about
this book.
this.
No, you presented this book in our class.
Yes, I did. I love this book. It's so good. It's a must read.
Oh, I'm gonna do that.
So after that,
I have so many lists. Like,
I
have so
know.
many books on my
Yeah,
list.
mostly for me as well. I'm just like, can you read this? Can you read this?
You and like the people that I've been interviewing, I'm like, oh, okay, I have got to pick that up. Got to
Yes.
read that. I'm gonna get
So,
on it.
but then the thing is, like I said, my taste changes, and now that I'm kind of going deeper into my degree, into like finance and economics, my interests in reading have leaned more towards reading books where I can learn more about economics and finance. So I've started reading a lot of books that relate to that.
I mean, was that transition hard or
Not
like a
really.
natural thing?
It was quite natural because I would I would read a lot of things in economics. Economics is very theory based, right? And even finance also to some extent. And I would see a lot of theories, and I would see a lot of concepts, and I would say, where do these theories come from? So it led me to Wealth of Nations, and then it was just one after the other, and then suddenly I was like, what, I want to learn more about these subjects. So I started reading books on them.
Any like particular authors or names?
There was this book called World Out of Balance. It was a very old book, and it was a book that I picked up as a very little child. And obviously at that age, I was like, what is this? I can't understand anything. And it was in A-levels when I took economics, and I started understanding a little bit about it. So it was a good book. It was about, what brings inequality in the world, and how do we deal with that. So, like, why is there wealth in certain hands and not in the other hands? Like, what is the efficient flow of wealth? And then other than that, then I started reading Why Nations Fail. It's a very good book. I've recently read that. I used to read that at my internship, but I had nothing to do.
That was me.
That was like, I used to be there from like 9 to 6 with nothing to do.
Same.
So I'd just be reading these books.
I was a legal intern. Like, it's not their fault that they couldn't really give me much work because, of course, it's all, confidential. So it's not their fault, but it's still, you're just sitting there.
Yeah. So I was like, I have to
with
find
nothing
something
to-
interesting to do. So I would just read, and my entire day would just go by like in a flash of light. And I started reading this. There's this other girl over here, Anam Tasir. I think you know her.
Yeah,
She's
I
my
know.
really good friend. So she's in my degree. And she's like that one person who recommends me all these books to read. She's amazing with it. So she recommended me to read Security Analysis. And that it's like, that these are books that are the building foundations of these amazing courses like investment banking, security analysis. It's a course in finance. And Security Analysis, the original book by someone named Benjamin, I forgot his name. It's a building foundation for it. So I really wanted to know where all these ideas and concepts come from. And then I've read a lot of books on the 2008 world financial crisis. I like reading those and watching their documentaries, reading articles on those. So that's how my interests is kind of like,
Evolving.
It's revolving. It's evolving, actually.
Evolving. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I know many people that actually read those sort of like books and articles like based on economics and finance. I mean, of course, I'm pretty sure there are people out there like that, but I personally, you're the only one that I know.
I mean, it just developed. It was like this drive to know more. So
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I use the internet. Like, I mean, I'll watch Netflix only raat ko, but pure din I'll be like researching over new things. I'll be reading the news. I'll be reading articles. I really love The Economist, and like they have a lot of good articles over there. But it's obviously I don't want to subscribe to it.
Yeah.
So I just have 5 articles per month. So I have to choose my articles very carefully.
That's me with New York Times.
That's me with New York Times as well. Yes, Sare, and then I have like 5 like fake emails which I've like subscribed to, and I just get like 25 articles, and I'm like I'm okay with this now.
No, I just have one email and I stick to that.
I've used my mom's, my dad's, my brother's, and mine. My CBM email as well. Yeah. So yeah, I'm like messing around with the system.
I mean, a lot of people do. I mean, people with Netflix do that. Yeah. Free trial every month.
Free trial every month.
Yeah. So how do you find the time to like balance reading and your degree?
See, now the good thing is that because reading in what sense? The reading that I do now, which is like economics and finance. Now, if I have courses that are revolving around those subjects, reading becomes more of a necessity for me. Like, I need to read to understand what I'm doing in my... Yeah, so it goes hand in hand. Plus, reading what it just takes like a small amount of your day. So you can just give it.
Like if you're really into it, it doesn't really take
Plus,
up
I have
that much
Fridays
of your time.
off.
True.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday off hota hai mera.
Yeah, same.
So that's when I read.
So like right now, are you just reading this?
Yeah.
I mean, economics and finance and like maybe some
I haven't gotten the time to like, kind of put my mind to different things right now. Okay. So maybe during the summers or like the winter vacations.
So like not really like fun stuff. I mean, I'm say fun stuff.
I'm not getting time
like,
for fun stuff.
Yeah, Jabi, that I asked you. I mean, how do you
I have time for like economics and financial readings, but not for anything else right now.
Okay. Are you like embarrassed to have not really read any of the classics though?
I have though.
You have?
I have.
Read a lot?
Read quite a few of them.
No, like one that you haven't read and you're embarrassed to not have read.
Which one? I can't really throw some names at me.
The Great Gatsby, Jane Austen.
I've read that. I've read Jane Austen.
Jane Austen, like Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice.
And Sense and Sensibility.
No, I haven't read that.
Is that by Jane Austen? I think that's by
don't know.
Jane Austen. Let's Google it.
See, now, look, in our school, right, they made us do all these classics. These are the books that we had to read.
Wait, really? My school wasn't that cool. I wish it was that cool, but...
Yeah, ours was. We had to read Shakespeare. I've read Julius Caesar. I've read Merchant of Venice. I've read... Like, unki alag se I read a few also on my own.
I read Merchant of Venice.
Yeah, I liked these books. They were quite fun to read. Plus, we've read Oscar Wilde. We've read so many different books.
Okay, so
that's like I said, it was a necessity to read these. That's why literature became part of our lives at an early age.
No, I mean that's really cool. Like to be immersed in such an atmosphere, where you're surrounded by so many readers and so many books. Like we have this one teacher. She's our IR teacher. She's also the HOD of the IR department, and she told us that she recently got a library built in her house, and not really a library, but like shelves to keep her books and everything, and she owns over 400 books.
Wow.
And I was like, damn.
My grandfather has a whole library in his lounge. Like, it's
Wow.
going from one end to the other.
That is my dream to have. Like, whenever I own a house someday, I want to get that built.
Yeah, same.
A whole library.
I want
like
my
that,
own.
Yeah, same. Like, those old vintage
Yeah.
libraries.
Oh, I love
with
those.
the brown hardware and
Yeah.
furnishings and, all, like brown leather sofas and.
Yeah, but my grandfather, obviously, his reading style was very different from everyone in my family. He reads scientific books.
Ooh.
Like, his books are mainly based on science and extreme advanced scientific theories.
Oh, wow. Have you read any of those?
I don't understand any of those. I open the first page and I'm like, okay, I don't get this.
Yeah, bye-bye. That is not for me.
Not for me. I'm not a science person. I mean, I like science, and he's someone that actually encouraged me to, be a free thinker. And his reading is based on all these Stephen Hawking's and there's so many of these writers. He has a lot of Roger Penrose and all these scientists. He reads their books, and my dad reads like Lord of the Rings and these type of books. Okay. My aunt, she reads classics actually.
Oh, okay, that's nice. I also know that you read a lot of Nadeem Paracha's
Oh my
articles.
God, he's someone that I have been reading since I was a child.
Yeah.
The minute I picked up a Dawn newspaper, the thing is that to get a child's attention at a very early age, give them a book with a nice drawing.
Yes.
Automatically they'll start liking what they're reading.
Yeah.
And then usse baad, like after that, it's
just
been drilled in my
habit,
head now.
Yeah.
It's a habit now.
Huh.
So I read a lot of his articles. Every article I think I've read of his.
Wow. He writes beautifully.
He writes really. He's
really
very
eloquent.
And also I get to learn a lot of things I didn't understand previously.
I just read one of his articles recently about extremism.
There's so many.
And the hypocrisy that was when our PM Imran Khan spoke on an international platform regarding Islamophobia and how Muslims are treated unfairly in the Western world, and how he expects them to give us equality because we're not really terrorists, or people shouldn't be afraid of us.
See, the reason why Nadeem Ghani called it ironic is okay, look, acknowledging it is different, but
exactly, practice what you preach though.
Also, there was an article where he brought up a very interesting point about how Islamophobia in other countries exists.
Yeah.
But it's not in their constitutions.
Exactly, yes. It's not ingrained in their law.
In their laws.
To
it is in
be
Pakistan's
racist
law.
Or bigot.
It's in Pakistan's law to differentiate between Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yeah.
So how can you stand there and say things like, oh, we should fight against Islamophobia?
Exactly, when the problem lies within your own constitution.
Exactly.
You can't just go up in front of so many people and claim something which you can't really practice in your own country.
I think Nadeem Paracha is someone many people need to read to get open-minded.
No, of course, I totally agree to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, since you read so many non-fiction articles and books, do you have any tips to make them interesting?
See, the reason why they're interesting for me is because I can relate to them and I can understand them, and there's I don't know if anyone gets this feeling, but there's this satisfaction in your head when something makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Right?
Huh.
So that's what drives me towards
that bulb
reading.
That suddenly, lights
it's
up
like a
and
ting in your head.
It's I get it.
I get it. I know what's happening. It's making sense, right? So that is something a lot of people need to ingrain into themselves. The whole aspect of things making sense. So that's what inculcates actually an interest in reading.
So even in non-fiction, if you're
in non-fiction, reading is something I don't think everyone has it.
No,
you have to you have to develop it.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It's a skill.
You have to make it a habit.
You have to make it a habit.
Become a habit.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes 1 month for a habit to settle in, for it to become something. To become a habit.
Yeah, I think around 24 to 27 days scientifically
so
it takes.
Give it a month.
Yeah.
Month, give or take, So after that, then if you done past that point, then it's a habit, and then it'll come eventually, come naturally to you.
Yeah, you're right.
So, what was the last book that you read, or like an article or anything?
The last article I read
Or a
was
book.
last night.
Which one?
It was an article on Dawn. It was about the whole economy right now and what's happening. Actually, it was a very interesting article. It was talking about how, you know, our politicians are saying that things are getting better, but like it's not.
They're not. We can see that.
We
they're
can
not.
see that. Plus, there was this writer. I'll send you the link to the article as well. He was giving us a detailed explanation as to why our fiscal deficit is shrinking. When in reality, it's not actually the exports that are increasing. It is the other side, that is the opposite side, that is decreasing. Like our imports are decreasing, but also a lot of public development programs are decreasing. The funds are decreasing. Uski wajah se, like the fiscal deficit is showing to decrease. But in reality, that's not actually a good thing.
Yeah, it's
right now.
I mean, of course it's not.
Like imports, sure, but it's not actually as good as, like, your politicians are saying, oh, we're doing amazing.
I
we're
think
becoming.
the problem lies with the fact that our population believes what they're being told without actually fact checking.
Exactly.
Like, they don't really know whether what the
And that's what I
politician
love
is
about
saying
Dawn, is that it gives a very unbiased, like, outlook towards things.
And also, like, research-based
Research-based.
articles. Like, it's not just saying things and pulling them out of the air. Like, they're proven. And I mean, the facts are right there for anybody to check.
Yeah, like in our, I mentioned the book previously, Wealth of Nations, and it talked about, like, how extractive and exclusive economic institutions work is what's happening in Pakistan. Like, that's exactly what's happening. We have extractive institutions which are focusing mainly on the cooperation of the elite and with and they're excluding the rest of the population.
The rich are becoming richer, and the
poor are becoming poorer. And this lies from the times of colonization. The book gives a very interesting.
We read this whole phenomena in our IR class. It was very interesting, like the whole capitalism and the socialism and how they're different from each other, and like the problems that arise from capitalism and different, like, all these theories that are out there.
And the book, actually, the book Why Nations Fail, it starts off with a very good example of this city in Arizona. It's I think
Phoenix?
No, Nogales. One part of it lies in Mexico and one part of it lies in America.
Oh,
in North America. There's it's like a divide, like this. This is Mexico. This is
kind of like Istanbul, like how it lies within two continents.
Somewhat, yeah. So one part of the city is in Mexico and one part of the city is in America, but it's only a border that's separating the two. But you can see the poverty is in Mexico, but the city in America, it's flourishing.
Yeah, how a border makes such a huge
Not
difference.
A border, but the fact that Mexico was the first, like that city compared to the other one was the first one to get colonized through slavery.
Oh.
So slavery existed in that part. And because that's what created the hierarchy and systems, that when the colonizers left, that system was left to the rich elite who were running that, even if they were Latin Americans. And that's what rich. Created an exclusive...
this elitism.
Yeah. Whereas the other part of the city was not... colonizers tried to come here, but because there was not much population there, or there was not many people there, or the system was very different there, they couldn't colonize it as well as they could colonize this part. And that's what's happening in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And in India as well, the colonizers came, they created extractive economies, and extractive economies were left in the hands of feudal lords, which is a huge problem in Pakistan right now.
A huge one.
Those are the politicians that are sitting up there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that anything can run as smoothly, like whatever illegal businesses that are being run right now. So without any part, without politicians playing any part in it, I don't think that's even possible.
True.
Yeah.
So these books give me a very good understanding of how economies are working, and that's what helps me in economics. Because see, For me, I'm not studying this degree just for the sake of a degree, right?
No,
And
of
this is
course.
most people need to develop this attitude is that
You
you
want
need
an
to
education, not just
you want
a
to
degree,
educate yourself over
not just a
these
piece of paper.
courses. Like, okay, you have a course in finance, but you want to read something other than that so that you understand it better, or so that it can help you in your future life. You go for interviews to bigger companies.
Yeah.
There's things you can talk about.
Exactly.
And also the whole aspect, like I said, like, you know, the thing makes sense in your head. Like, you read a concept in economics or finance, a theory, and then you read an article on it or a book on it, or some real life application of it, and the thing, that's what
Yeah.
makes your brain go ting.
And it also opens you up and opens your eyes towards so many perspectives, like
Exactly.
different
Yeah.
perspectives, like how other people think, and maybe their opinions might differ from you, but you learn to like maybe disagree with them, or maybe, agree in some semblance, not all. So it like creates this whole different dimension.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So any book suggestions that you have for us?
All books.
That's a very nice one. I love that answer.
Thank you. All books.
Yeah, I love that answer. So on that note, we'll be ending this podcast. Thank you so much.
No
for
problem.
being
I
here,
was so
Pia.
happy for, like, you know, I'm just so happy for doing this.
Same. I was so excited to have you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you.
No problem.
Bye.
It was a
guys.
pleasure from, like, you know,
Yeah.
you interviewing me.
No,
All
of
this.
course. I mean, it was an honor for me to interview
Oh
you.
my god.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.